Hi everybody, it's Chris here from the Gallowgateshots YouTube channel. Just to let you know, as always, this podcast is now part of the 90-Minute Football Network and proudly sponsored by www.pt-4-u.co.uk. Enjoy the episode.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Always Smiling Faces podcast on the Gallowgateshots YouTube channel. As always, those that are listening, I am joined by Mark Walker and Decker Petrie. No Stephen Best tonight. Stephen Best is ditched where he's too busy DJing tonight. He started to do kids DJing on Tuesday nights. So he's gone around the community centres doing DJing. Boys, how are you doing?
Is that what we're calling nonsense these days? Is it, Chris?
Nah.
Allegedly.
I started going down a path, mate, and I didn't know where I was going to end up. Boys, I'll start with you, Mark, because I was at the game with you last night, and we'll focus on that first of all. What an atmosphere last night, mate!
It was brilliant, wasn't it? I've got a bit of a croaky voice after last night. It's special when it's like that, isn't it? When it's an evening kickoff under the lights, a big game. Coming in against Man United, who are in a bit of a transition phase at the minute. Everybody's bang up for it. I think the majority of the people in the ground had been out on the pop. Still following on from the Christmas and celebrations with it being the bank holiday, and everybody just went for it, and it was cracking. I think the War Flags lads have got to take a huge amount of credit for getting the atmospheres going, because since those lads have came back, and lasses, let's don't forget the lasses in there as well. It's made a hell of a difference to just from the very start of the game, all the build up and everything.
Minimal display that was classes last night. Dick, I'm not sure what it looked like on the TV, but we saw obviously the photos looking back now, and if that's a minimal display, I can't wait to see what your maximum display is.
Yeah, I think obviously I had a ticket for the match, but either Rona or the flu or whatever it was just kicking me off, so I got rid of it. But I watched the game obviously twice actually, and the flags were just tremendous. And to be fair to them, I could be totally wrong here, so I'll take this back if any of them are listening, they go, he's full of shit. But I would feel that doing it the way they did it last night is probably maybe easier for them. That obviously they're just putting flags randomly and everyone can just grab one and join in, rather than having a massive display with it, with the wording has to be correct in the right order and all that type of stuff. And I think what they do is amazing, and I absolutely love it. And I would love to see, and I think they put a message on saying for more fans to bring black and white items, be it a scarf, a flag, anything. And if you can create that around the ground, everyone waving something, I'm not saying you'll ever recreate Shearer's testimonial by any stretch, but you know what I mean? Something like that. And credit to them, it was fantastic. It really, really was.
Yeah, the tweet that they put out on the morning of the game was basically, if you see a black and white flag, pick it up and wave it. Mm-hmm. So it was just scattered across the Gallowgate, and it's. I prefer. I'm saying I prefer them. I think visually those displays where it's spontaneous sort of fans and fans just picking them up and wave them look fantastic. They really do. As a statement piece, yes, the big surfer flags and the messages that you see, fantastic as your one-off statements. But to have what we've had and to see what War Flags have done for the fan base and for the football club since, like Mark said, since obviously the takeover got approved and they came back, I've seen nothing like it. You see that club's trying to replicate it. And for a team that's sat in the relegation zone and probably has done all season, or majority of the season, to get that from this club and the fan base, you do not get this anywhere else. And I'll categorically say that now, you will not see that anywhere else.
Well, I did say it after the Man City game when I think it was it was, and we were 4-0 down or whatever it was, 4-1 down or something, and like everyone was still waving them flags, you know what I mean? And even Pep Guardiola made a point of saying like, wow, that's amazing support, and somebody put a tweet out today, it was, I don't know who it was, But it showed you a picture of Man City Stadium, I think it was Villa Stadium, and another stadium where there's just pockets of emptiness everywhere. And then it showed you our game, and it was absolutely rammed with flags waving and everything. And it makes you feel really proud. And I think what Amanda must be thinking, and my dad sitting there, last night must have been thinking, fucking hell, again, like the fans are here and the numbers on an evening game which was on TV where there's coronavirus fucking everywhere. Sorry to mention it, but it is. And like people could have quite easily stopped in.
Yeah.
And the house was full. Do you know what I mean? And everyone's giving it 100%. It's absolutely amazing. Like,
there was a massive clamour for tickets as well. The amount of people on social media looking for tickets and wanting to get there. That's been going on for weeks and weeks. I've seen it on the pages on Facebook for spares and stuff like that. People begging for them, and it's, obviously people wanting them for Christmas presents and stuff like that. A lot of the time, people going to getting them for the kids and stuff like that to give them for Christmas. It all adds to it. But it's funny you mentioned Amanda and Mia there, Decker. I think Amanda's definitely embraced the whole Geordiness of now owning Newcastle, because all of the pictures of her in the director's box last night, she's just standing there in her dress with a scarf on, no sign of a coat or anything like that. Just proper toughing it out like a good old Geordie lass. And there's my dad with his coat on and his hat and everything like that.
It was the little girl that was with them. That's not a daughter or something, is it? Or
I'm guessing it'll be some sort of relative. If
just
not,
a relative, yeah.
If not a daughter, it's definitely going to be some sort of relative.
Yeah.
But like we are sat there just before kickoff, Mark, and I look at my phone and like Gallowgateshots and say Jamie Rubin has followed you, and I'm thinking, the fuck's going on here? Like, he's sat up there, we're just about to kick the game off, and he's like, must just be scrolling through Twitter, like, to see what the crack is. But it's, I know we mention this every single week since the takeover, but we sat and we used to piss and moan about going to the game in a similar position where we're all right now, just struggling to get any points on the board, and it felt like a chore. It felt like you had to drag yourself to games. And now
it's nights like that, isn't it? Where you used to think, oh, the game's going to get in the way of a good day and night out on the drink, because like getting out there earlier before the kicks off, and then you just think, amount of times you just thought, well, I'll just stay in the pub. Let's not bother with the match. But it's like you say, it's enjoyable going now. You know that one thing that we always ask for is effort, a bit of commitment, and to go and try your best and try and win that game for us. Put in that effort and passion, commitment, and you'll be loved for it. And
yeah, something else which I saw on Twitter as well, Mark, is somebody just put it in there. Vindius has just said Michael Oliver was in the clock pub with his tune someone. So the referee, Michael Oliver, was doing the rounds in the pubs before kickoff last night. And do you know what it is?
Big Bazza Sweeney.
It's strange, isn't it, seeing referees like wearing like replica football shirts and that, like phenomenal. And we'll get on to referees and so on, as we do every single week, apparently. But we'll go through the starting lineup. So there's a couple of changes. So obviously Dubravka starts, Emil Kraft comes back in, Lascelles, Fabian Schür's back in, Manquillo, Longstaff, Shelvey returns as well, Joelinton, Saint-Maximin, Fraser, and Callum Wilson. Deg, I'll come to you, mate. It's always a special occasion being under the floodlights at St. James's Park, and you always feel, no matter who it is, I always feel confident when it's an evening game for some strange reason. But that game, obviously, if you go back to yesterday afternoon, were you confident?
Oh God, no. Oh no. I don't want to really make this as if it's a negative on us necessarily, but I am going to be honest and say Man United hadn't played a game for 2 weeks, and I thought, my God, them have had unbelievable preparation time with the new manager. Everyone will be fully fit. They'll have no injury problems because they haven't played a game. We seem to be playing every 5 minutes, it feels like to me. And I really thought Man United were going to really, really take it that way. When I seen our lineup, frightened to death that we had no recognised left back. I appreciate Manquillo was played there before, but it's still worried as that. Obviously, Lewis, we already knew wasn't fit. Richie then clearly has a problem. So Manquillo was there. Kraft was back in, which we will get on to, but at the time when I seen the team sheet, I worried. So I'm going to be fair here. I thought, bloody hell, this could be a long night. Like, that's just my honest opinion.
Yeah, Mark, obviously, we are sat in the pub. Once you have an extra few pints, the confidence gets higher and higher, doesn't it? And obviously, I think seeing Shelvey back in the team, and once again, I said last week, never thought I'd come out with this sentence, but that gave us that extra bit of confidence, having Shelvey in that midfield role. Because he just, honestly, no matter what, recently and since that change of form, he's been quite steady in midfield, probably more than steady. He's controlled that midfield almost perfectly. So seeing him and his name on the team sheet, of course, I'm full of confidence once again, Mark. But what was your thoughts going into it?
He's shite. Nah, he has. He's been.
He probably like means that, you know.
He's been like a breath of fresh air, hasn't he? Look, you know for a fact I'm not his biggest fan, but he has done very, very well since he's came in. And you know, in that midfield, you know, that he's coming up against, where with the players that they've got when they're on the game, they can stretch you, they can pull you to bits, they can, you know, drag you all over, and you just wonder whether he's got the legs for that. But the way we managed the game, our tactics, and that, it suited him, because he then had time and space to be able to actually play with the ball. But he was still, you know, full of energy and stuff like that, which is, you know, that's the one thing that a lot of people have had against him is that, you know, I guess so-called lack of effort from him at times. But that's, you know, that's something that's definitely been evident in the last few weeks, is he's actually given it a hell of a good go, running, moving, showing for the ball, wanting to be involved. So yeah, long may it continue.
Yeah, let's just get straight into the game itself, and it's straight out the traps in Newcastle United, and like I said, under the floodlights there. Seeing us attack a team of Manchester United's quality, when previously we would have happily sat back and absorbed the pressure, but we're now finally actually pushing up the field, and the press from all of that starting 11 was ridiculous, and that's why we were controlling most of obviously the play, because we were closing down from the very top of the field, and it's something which how many times were asked for. When those players graft their asses off, Man United did not want to touch that ball, and the defenders, Maguire in specific, just didn't want to be there.
Well, it's a funny one, because obviously I've mentioned about Man United, they're not playing for 2 weeks, and I've said that obviously that's a good thing. Now, actually, having said that, it can also be a bad thing, because there's a bit of rust there, you know, etc., etc. I've said it often enough about the big clubs. Don't get us wrong, if you're pressing the wrong area of the field, or there's too many of you press, they'll rip you apart, because they've got quality. But you can see what Eddie Howe's been doing in regards to how that press is working, and we're pressing in the right areas of the field. The energy levels and the stamina levels of the players is night and day compared to what we're seeing a year ago. And for all, obviously, the upturn in results and wins isn't necessarily there. Going back to what Mark said, I think about, you know, enjoying going to the game, is you do trust Eddie Howe. You have a feeling of trust in that, in the training that they've done during the week, that they would have been working on something that would be important, and that the players will do their best to execute that on a match day. So I think that's another reason why you're excited to go, because you think, you know, it's actually, we're going to see something. They might get beat, but we'll see something for spells of the game. And I totally agree that I thought what really came out of the blocks, Varane and Maguire were horrific, like really, really bad players. Like, we made them look ordinary. And that's just by putting them under a little bit of pressure. And obviously Sean Longstaff come back in. And the first goal, in my opinion, seemed to come quite quickly. It felt like, to me anyway. And again, it was
6-7 minutes, I think.
Yeah. And it was again because of pressing early. And the defender just didn't even realise Sean Longstaff would be there. And in fairness to them, if you go back not so long ago, we wouldn't have had a player there trying to win the ball. We would have just been sitting back, and Varane would have turned and just brought the ball out. But because we were on his first touch, bang, he shit himself and we're through on goal. Well, nearly through on goal, but you know what I mean. So really exciting to start. And the commentators mentioned it a lot, and that, you know, you'll agree that if you can get our crowd on side early, you're in for a good night. You know, we can really put the shits up the opposition, and the players did that. And Eddie Howe must have said that going into, you know, in the tunnel and in the changing rooms, let's get the crowd behind me early, and they did.
Yeah. Mark, I'll let you take over, because I can barely speak. I can't stop coughing.
I'll COVID.
It better not be, because I was sat very close to him last night for the majority of the evening, and obviously at the match as well. So, but no, it's good that you picked up on Longstaff, because again, he's another one that came under a fair bit of criticism for his performances, them dropping right down. And I'm not saying he was back to his best, but he was certainly up there. But that, like you say, the intensity from him, and his pressure in on the ball is what leads to it. But even before we scored, we had a chance with Callum going through and having a shot as well. So we were really out of the blocks and at them. And I think that just from having that from the start just sets it up for the night, sets the tempo, sets the intention. And like you said, the two central defenders didn't want to know. And it's quite ironic, because Varane was getting all talked up before the game. The official Man United account was tweeting out, flags and stuff like that he was playing, and all the fans were about our Champions League winner and all this kind of thing. And he looked garbage, absolutely garbage. And I lost count of the amount of times that Maguire just shinned the ball or tried to clear it and hooked it out.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I saw a tweet I saw a tweet earlier, and it was from some Manchester account or some stat based account, and said that Manchester United lost possession was X amount of times, the most they've ever lost this season. And back where we go from what I've just mentioned not so long ago, it's because of the high press that we're putting on them. They just weren't comfortable with it. And that's, if Callum Wilson is leading the line and closing those balls down and quickly followed by everybody else, there's no way for them to go. They just don't have the time to build that play up, and they panic, and then it just obviously lands to Joelinton on every single time.
Well, a few things, organisation off the ball. Do you know something? I'm going to mention a player who he hasn't necessarily done anything that I expected him to do when we signed him, right, at the moment. But he's doing really well, is Fraser. Well, I know he's injured, I think, now, but I didn't think we'd be bringing Fraser in to press people and run and chase people down. I'm expecting Fraser to have good delivery and beat a man and et cetera, et cetera. I thought Fraser yesterday was absolutely working his arse off. He was chasing everybody down, and I always think if your front players are willing to chase, even Saint-Maximin was doing it occasionally in first him. I see Wilson will always press, Fraser's pressing. The likes of Shelvey, Longstaff, I'm trying to think of other people behind were see that that them lads are pressing. Whereas I feel as if I'm only just thinking of a centre midfielder. If Fraser's coming deep, I'm going to go deep. You know what I mean? Like it's a mentality thing. But when you start seeing your forward players pressing these guys, I think it lifts the whole team 10, 15 yards forward.
Really Fraser's now became apparent the Premier League punch bag. So every single game that he plays recently, he's just getting clattered left, right, and centre. But
it was a bad
credit to the kid. He's straight back over the knee. And
it comes from his pace and his tenacity, though, doesn't it? He's like a little terrier. You cannot describe him any way. He's around snapping at people's ankles, chasing after things, running up and down, and I think it's fair to say that we've adapted to Ryan Fraser being in the team.
I knew that was coming. I knew it was coming. Right,
No, hang on. I need to. Oh no, I'll not bother. I'll not
bother. Do you want to start?
No, because I need to get something very clear here. You said we'll adapt if Saint-Maximin wasn't available, and Fraser would just come in and just change. You'd be fine.
Under Bruce,
I believe. The guy, he scored a goal, in fairness to him, last night. I'm not sure if Fraser could score that, in fairness to him. But Fraser has been very good. But the point I'm trying to make again is he's very good in something I didn't think he would do. I didn't think he was that type of player. I didn't think I'd be sitting here going, God, he's working really hard and he's really pressing these guys. I didn't think that. I'm thinking, he set pieces of mint. He's creating loads of opportunities for us. He's not necessarily doing that, but he's doing an amazing job on that side of the field. Which, in fairness, you could say Miggy could do, where he brought him on later on. Yeah. And it's almost like for like, right? Like you've got energy, and that's great to see.
So you could perhaps say that he's adapted his game then maybe to suit into the formation.
But to me, I'm giving a lot of that credit to Eddie Howe. I am. He's getting a run of games. But he's obviously picked up an injury there now, so it's a shame. But and I'll touch on it there because there's loads of comments about this. So we've got a little bit of recovery time now because obviously the Everton game has been called off, which was breaking news just before we came on. So it's a little bit of recovery, and that's great for us at the moment because there's games getting called off left, right, and centre, and that injury news over the last 24 hours with Saint, Callum Wilson, Fraser, obviously Matt Ritchie must have COVID, I'm assuming, because he was just nowhere to be seen. So this has came at a good time for us. It really, really has. Apparently, Everton fans are kicking off about it, saying that we should be fielding under 23 players, but under 23 players aren't good enough to play in the under 23. Never mind Premier League game. But let's.
I can understand that them would want to play. I get that argument, but
apparently there's rumours that the Everton were going to try and call the game off as well. So,
well, I think it's a right decision. You know, it was.
Yeah, it was always going to happen. Of course, it was. Let's touch on the goal. Jack, I'll come to you as always when it's in relation to our friend Saint-Maximin. It's a great finish, mate. And
it's brilliant. It's brilliant.
For somebody who I've been critical not having him that end product, it's a great finish, Mark.
Are you taking the piss here?
I'm thinking he slipped. He gets into a great position, but watch that goal back. He slips and he shanks it. I'm telling you.
Do you put him on here just to try and wind me up? You definitely only put him on here to try and wind me up. You're taking the piss here. Of course, he slips
because I celebrated it like it was a 90-minute winner, but he slips and he shanks it 100%. He hasn't intended to do that. Not a chance. Not a chance.
What are you talking about, man? What are you talking about?
He hasn't bent it in the top corner, has he? He hasn't bent it in the top corner, which is what he was trying to do. Corner?
Right. First of all, Longstaff winning the ball back was fantastic. And again, we touched on it just before. Pressing high up the field. Varane absolutely panics. He turns around and gets burgled. In fairness, it reminded us, I know it's in a different area of the field here, but can you remember when we beat Man City and Longstaff won the penalty for Ritchie? I think it was Fernandinho just turned around and Longstaff was just there. And it was very, very similar in that regard. Eddie Howe at the end of the game said the one about Saint-Maximin in terms of in the game itself, I think 80% of our attacks went down Saint's side. And they says, was that planned? And Eddie Howe says, well, like, I count to 10, I'm on 25. Eddie Howe said, oh, listen, he's one of he's the best player we have. Like, we have to give him the ball and give him the opportunity to get at the fullback. And of course, he does what he always does. He like what Ben Arthur used to do. He just comes inside, doesn't he? Now, surely that's the point he's made there is what I was going to say. Put that back on.
So the point there, Freddie says, surely the fact that he's fallen over makes it a great finish.
It was absolutely, because he does fall over. There's no question of that. But he still manages to have the ability to, and this is also what I'll say is, I was told from a young age, because I used to play up front, right? And I'm sure I've heard Shearer or someone say the same. Have a shot when the keeper's not expecting it, all right? So take a shot early. Have an earlier shot than what you would normally think of, because the keeper's not expecting it. De Gea is rooted, because he is not expecting Saint-Maximin to shoot there because he's on his way down. I thought it was an absolutely brilliant finish, considering he was falling down. And I'll come back to something I've said for weeks and weeks now about getting better players on the ball in the right area of the field, and we'll give it to Saint-Maximin when he's just on the edge of their box. And obviously he did the rest. So
near space, did he? Over on the left as well. From
obviously them lost the ball in a terrible area.
Yeah,
but through Longstaff, and then that meant Saint get it in a great area. So it was fantastic. I was really, really pleased for him, because some of the shit on Twitter has just drove me mad. I've had to come off, actually. Just drove me mad, some of the stuff it's probably from Mark off of it. But honest to God, like some of the shit I see on there, man, like what the hell's going on? But anyway, brilliant start. Thoroughly deserved it. And I'm so pleased he scored. Over to you.
I thought Mark was going to try and defend his opinion on this one, because Mark, there's literally nobody agreeing with you in the comments.
I'm telling you, watch the replay back. He slips and it comes off the outside of his boot. Look, it doesn't matter. It went in. It's a fluky finish like that. I'll take 9 times out of 10.
A fluky finish.
It was a fluky finish, man. Of course it was.
We'll come on to someone who is the best player that's ever played football. But if Joelinton had scored that goal, or I'm trying to think of someone else. Maybe Murphy, because I used to criticise Murphy. If Murphy scores that, I honestly believe you say to me, hasn't he done well there? Like, hasn't he adapted or whatever? Some bullshit line you'd come up with. I really think you would, you know. I really do. I really do.
No, I don't. Look, I'm happy. I'm happy he scored. It's a fluke. It's a fluke finish. The way he slips, it comes off the side of his boot and goes in. It's the luck fell on our side. That's all that matters. So what I did find interesting though, it was he didn't really seem to celebrate when he scored.
Because he's fucking listening to you probably on a Monday night. Probably thinking, what the fuck is this guy?
But no, he ran. He kind of ran away and then stopped and then walked, and he normally celebrates with the crowd or does his flips and all of that kind of thing. But it was very muted. His celebration. I
thought it was a case of listen, I've seen what, because listen, there's another thing. I said this the day the guy came in. Well, not the very first day because I didn't know he was like this. But let's be fair, he's very, very good on Twitter, right? Very good. Probably the king of Twitter at times, right? And I did say early on that that's going to come back to bite with. In the long run, I feel it will, because he's one of the guys I reckon that sits on his bog in the house and reads everything. I really do think. And I feel that some of them tweets would have got to him, because I just feel that's what he's like, right? I do. And I think that little walk away and that sort of slowness thing that he did, I thought was kind of he didn't do Perez and put his fingers in his ear, but I feel as if that walk away was very much I've been listening, I've been reading, and that's for you.
Has he not done that walk away once before? He done some Vincent McMahon strut.
He did one when we went to we were Sheffield United away and he scored his first goal, which was a header, and he kind of walked away, but it was some kind of Marvel reference. But he did do that way. He
like a strut, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I think that was Marvel related.
It was like Conor McGregor style strut.
Yeah, I could be totally wrong, and that walk could be some joke he's had with his mates or what. Fuck knows, right? We don't really know, but I'm just from the outside looking in. It felt to me was I'm still here type of thing.
So let's get on to the main man, somebody who's been stealing all the headlines over God knows how many weeks now, but probably hands down the best performance he's gave for this football club, Joelinton against Man United. What an absolute show he put on. Absolutely fantastic. He's involved in nearly everything. It's very, very similar to Mo Diarmi at his best when he was playing in that position. And just, I always said with Mo Diarmi, he goes in for the challenge, but he looks at taking the ball with him at the same time. And that's exactly what Joelinton was doing yesterday. The amount of times where he won the ball, obviously goes to the ground and make the challenge, then he's up again and he's away, just running through with the ball. And it's not just that, he's link-up player as well. Absolutely fantastic to bring other players in around him. And he's improving more and more each week. And I'm excited to see him again the next game, just to see what he's going to deliver once again.
He's really stepped up, hasn't he? It was one of those performances, like you just said there with Mo Diarmi. There was times where he'd go into a tackle and you'd never expect him to come out with the ball, but somehow he'd come away with it. And that's exactly what Joe was doing last night. Everything that he went into, he was coming away with the ball. He was making interceptions. He was winning headers. He was putting himself about. He was out muscling their central midfield, left, right, and centre. Evenly right, I give him a 10 in the Chronicle in the player ratings, which I don't think that's ever happened. And look, he was just absolutely superb. He was everywhere. He chased back into the left back position, into the right back position. He was driving us forward. He made a real difference in the middle of the pitch, because he put in that performance of what we've been missing for years. Because as you've just mentioned, Mo Diarmi, we've spoken about him so many times and not being able to replace him, and that performance was replacing a Mo Diarmi top performance, being able to go box to box, breaking up the play, driving us forward. I've never seen anybody for a long time be able to pick up the ball in those positions and just get forward and drive at them. Every pass that he was doing was more or less a forward pass as well. It really set up that was said what we've mentioned already, the intensity in our our approach to how we were going to be playing and just wanting to get forward at every opportunity. And it's just scary, the change around that he's had in his performance. He's always had the attitude. For me, he's had he has been criticised by a huge number of people, by probably 99% of the supporters have wrote him off, saying that he's no good, he's useless, this, that, the other. Those words are coming back to haunt people now, and people are standing up, taking notice, and it just goes to show you what a difference a bit of coaching, somebody having a bit of belief in your ability can do for you. And I'm sure we'll come on to discuss it in more detail, but the interview after the game with the way Sean Longstaff was talking about him, I thought was just absolutely incredible. But what a performance, what a guy, brilliant.
Yeah. So obviously, Decker, you would have probably saw more of it. Obviously, watching through the TV cameras, did it look even better on the telly?
I honestly, I truly mean this as well. I don't mean any disrespect to people that were there. Sometimes when you're at the game live, depending on where you're sitting at, you sometimes miss them little things like the countless interceptions or the odd tackle here and there. I honestly feel that is one of the most overall best performances I've ever seen. Like, honestly, like, the only thing he didn't get, bless him, was a goal, right? That's only because he deserved one. But I'm on about a full performance out of someone. I can't recall seeing anyone deliver what he delivered for us last night. Like, he was everywhere. And it's when it isn't just luck. It's not just luck that you're winning these headers or you're winning these challenges. His awareness of where to be, where the danger was, spotting danger, and was just putting out fires after fire after fire. Incredibly brave as well. There was a few headers he did, which probably looked like nothing, but I'm telling you now, not many people would probably have put the head where he was putting it, and he was intercepting play. But it wasn't just a header out of play. That it was a header creating a move for us to start going forward. It was on. I cannot speak highly of just how good that performance was. It was unbelievable, honestly.
So there was a couple of times as well where he did lose the ball, but he won it straight back. And that's what you want to see. There was a couple of times where the ball got stuck under his feet and he still walks away with it. And this, obviously, most footballers, probably all footballers, confidence players. But this Joelinton, which we're seeing with the run of form that he's in now, he does look like an absolute steal for £40 million playing in that is it a number 8 role? What do we class it as?
Yeah, I mean, in fairness here, I know I'm seeing a lot of comments about Eddie Howe and that. And listen, I love Eddie Howe, but I think we have to be realistic here and admit Eddie Howe didn't take us on and go, I think I'll put him centre midfield. And even Eddie Howe at the end of the game did say it was a total fluke that they stumbled across it against Norwich because we went down to 10 men. And he said, we'll move Joelinton into that position because we're down to 10. And both of us looked at each other on the sidelines and we're like, fucking hell, like he can do a job here. And then next thing you know, he's played there ever since type of thing. But I think the thing for me is we've run about loads of players before. Sean Longstaff was mentioned before there. And he does one moment in the game, and I think us as fans can be very like, hey, it's great to see Longstaff intercepting the pass there. And is he back to his best and all this? I'm not saying we're saying that, but people do get carried away. Joelinton, I remember the Brentford game that I went to when Eddie Howe's first game wasn't there, but Joelinton was unbelievable. I was looking at Mark going, fucking hell, who was this guy? But he was playing attacking right midfield at the time, but he was playing really, really well. But I didn't want to get carried away because I was like, well, it's just one game, right?
Yeah.
But now we're talking five games in a row here. Even when we got butchered off like some Man City, he was still the best player we had. I mean,
you're probably looking at 4-5 man of the match performances back to back. If not that one game where I would say Shelvey probably stole it.
Yeah.
But
he's certainly he's improved every game. You know what I mean? And for him to play that role is unbelievable. Really, I mean, because it's not his role, you wouldn't think, right? But he's aggressive. He's fairly aggressive. Anyone can be aggressive and just foul everyone. Shelvey can be aggressive. He's aggressive, but in the positive way. You know what I mean? Players are just bouncing off him left, right, and centre. He's barging everybody out of the way, but fairly. Very, very calm on the ball. His first touch was brilliant. He played a lovely ball through to Fraser, whom then he scored. Obviously, that was going towards your end. But I feel as if the old Joelinton would have slipped there or would have given the ball away. But it seemed to me that in that particular game and the games that have just gone, even his passing, that final ball, it seems to be improving. And that might be confidence, it's everything. But just I cannot speak. I could speak an hour about how good that performance was. It really was.
I think that word that you've just said there is makes a big difference. Is confidence, because he's definitely got the ability. We just probably haven't seen it as regularly as we'd like, because he hasn't had that confidence. He's grown into that role, as you said. He's played there for the last probably half a dozen games now, and is getting better and better. He's using a lot of the attributes that he's got, because people used to be critical about him with the size that he had and his physique and stuff like that. That he wasn't aggressive enough and didn't use his physique enough, and he's definitely doing that. He's been able to kind of bully the players that are in the midfield up against him, and use that physique that he's got to get on the ball and get forward. But then a lot of the good things that he used to do, like picking up the ball, being able to move forward, looking to get us progressing, that's a bit allowing him to do it, being able to come from that little bit deeper, because we've seen it when he played up as a kind of in behind Wilson for a couple of games, of him being able to come and run and progress the play. Again, being that little bit further back and being in a bit of a more of an attacking midfield role has given him even more opportunity to do that. And like I said before, he really is allowing us to drive and get on that front foot a lot more than we have been, because like you said, Decker, we've been used to having our midfield that just sat and played the ball, be a little bit passive, and we couldn't be any further from that now. We're not a passive team anymore. We're much more on the front foot. We're much more looking to get on and take the game to it, and be progressive rather than passive now, which is it's lovely to see.
His stamina levels. How can you run that much, man? I mean, we used to say it about Almiron a lot, and I'll never ever take that away from Almiron. But he was doing challenges to where yours are sitting to like the left corner flag. He's winning the ball back there and starting to move off. Yep. Next thing you know, he's right wing starting to move off, and he's in the middle. He's just absolutely unbelievable, the effort that he put in last night. Well, not just last night, sorry. The last few games. And I seen a comment pop. I think it was Freddie put on. So that Joelinton was getting better towards the end of Bruce's time, and I have to agree there. I will agree there, because there's a few games stand out. Leeds game at home, the Tottenham game at home, which we threw away. I actually thought Joelinton played well in them games. The problem was at the time, that was the comment. Yeah, the problem was at the time is the position he was playing. Everyone on the outside looking in, and most of our fans were judging him on goals. We were judging him on opportunities created, and we were forgetting about him. I'm sure one of the games he took every single goal kick Dubravka had to offer, or was Darlow probably at the time, was chesting it down, holding people off, linking up play really well. But at the end of the day, he didn't score a goal. So everyone was like, oh, well, it doesn't count. But now I think people are, because they've known his roles changed, we're now starting to see him in a different light. And I'm so happy for him. And just to very quickly comment, and I'll shut up. The comment made by that interviewer at the end of the game, by the way, it fucking boiled my piss. Like, that was unacceptable. And listen, I've criticised him, but I would never openly stand in front of him and say that.
Yeah, so I've just seen Shade before I came here. I just met Shade in the pub, just had a quick chat with him and a pint. And me and Shade discussed this as well. And for a professional journalist or presenter, whatever he wants to class himself as, to come out with a comment like, basically, you shit, I didn't realize you had that in you. That was basically what you're saying. There's so many ways that you can turn that phrase around, mention these run of form, saying, fantastic run of form, blah, blah, blah. He's basically called him out for previous performances on there. And the person that you have to give credit to, for me, is Sean Longstaff. Because brilliant. Sean Longstaff, now I've got the quotes here, so Sean Longstaff comes straight and he says, the disrespect he gets is a disgrace. Some of the noise from outside is so disrespectful. He's the best player in training every day. If you get him in your team in training, you're buzzing because you always win. I'm so happy for him. And he's just called that presenter, along with a lot of other probably fans in that as well. Just call them out, because
it was brilliant. It's Longstaff there, for say a young kid, but like it would be so easy for Longstaff just to almost ignore the point and just say, he played well and it's great to see him doing well. But that was almost a personal defense of Joelinton, like a passionate and personal defense. And I think all of us cling on to that, don't we? All of us love that. We love Lascelles when he was kicking off that time years ago at Southampton. We just love to hear our players caring about each other and giving a shit. And I thought Longstaff handled himself superbly in that minute or so. He really, really did.
That's exactly what it is, because that could have probably got lost in translation with Joelinton, and Joelinton probably could have heard that and thought presenters just not having a dig whatsoever there, or being rude. Then, like we said, Longstaff straight in to defence, and once again it just shows us that unity between the squad, like we've been mentioned over the last few weeks there.
I'm sure Bruce as well. It wasn't just Bruce; it was somebody else. Also, this is way back, by the way, when he was getting a lot of shit and wasn't playing well, in fairness, but that he was the best in training. They were saying we want to see the Joelinton we see in training if we can get him like that on a Saturday or a Sunday or whatever, and I heard that a lot about him. But you have to give Joelinton so much fucking credit, man. Like, how much credit have you got to give him? Like, he's come over here playing in a position he clearly didn't want to play in, playing for a poor team, let's be quite honest. Let's be very, very honest here. Poor team with a poor coach at the time. Could have quite easily just downed tools. He's not from Newcastle. He didn't give a fuck about us. And how many players in the past would have just, fuck yous, I'll wait until I'll get away in the summer or January, whatever. But God bless him, he's really, really dug in. He's worked hard. He's worked on his stamina, everything he's tried to work on. And he's even been willing to go into a position he's probably never played in his life, but he still give 110%. And just honestly, cannot speak highly of him. Honestly, I cannot. Amazing. I'm even losing my voice because of him.
Whoever thought this would ever happen, though? Like, let's be honest. Yeah. Who thought we'd be sitting here 5 podcasts and reactions in a row, and the credit getting even better and better each week? And
we have to. He has some money in the bank here. This is what's important to remember. And I do this with our goalkeepers quite often. For me, he's got money in the bank now. So if he has a poor game against Everton's not on, but the next game, all right, listen, that happens, right? Footballers have bad games. Like Ronaldo's the best player in the world. Fuck me, he looked like me yesterday. So let's every player can have a bad game. So calm down when he may have a poor game coming up. I hope he doesn't, of course. But if he does, hey, let's just chill out here. The guy's been phenomenal. So let's just
just because you mentioned the name there, and I'll come to you, Mark, and I think Gary Neville sums this up perfectly after the match. Bruno Fernandes and Ronaldo, like absolute children, petulant kids throughout the game, throwing the toys out the pram, left, right, and centre, running over the referee, trying to get players booked left, right, and centre. They were an absolute disgrace yesterday.
Yeah, just, I mean, you do see that from Ronaldo sometimes, and look, I'm a big fan of him. I think he's a brilliant player, but last night he looked ordinary. He didn't look like anything special, and you see that when things aren't going his way, he can react very badly, and his head will drop. He'll get more and more angry, pissed off. He'll start complaining about everything. But like you just said, it wasn't just him; it was Bruno as well. He was doing exactly the same. If anything, he was probably worse because everything he was moaning about, and that just shows how much they were rattled. They were absolutely rattled by the way that we played and went up against them, because they didn't get it their own way. We were going in strong on them. We were coming away. We were not allowing them to play their game whatsoever. And they probably didn't expect that from us, because, as much as we've been trying to do it, and since Eddie's came in, there's been glimpses of it, but it's never always clicked in that way. And even, you look across the whole team, and I think you can pick every player that was on there and think they had a good solid game, and that's what then drove the Man United players to start complaining about everything, being unhappy because we put them off the game. They weren't able to perform, they weren't able to get it their own way, and they weren't able to be the world superstars that they undoubtedly are, but they weren't able to show it, and that's why they were getting more annoyed with it. And it was lovely to see, wasn't it?
You're right there, and you let's be fair. You find that with every big team. If I'm honest with you, like Liverpool, for example, them cry a river if they're not getting it their way, and you see the players starting to whinge on and moan on. And I thought Ronaldo. I mean, in fairness to Ronaldo, I actually haven't seen him play well, if that makes sense, but he always scores a goal. That's the thing. He doesn't really get involved in the game anymore because he's the age he is, and he's a different player. From the first time I seen him when he was here, the guy was incredible. But we did amazing to just marshal him and keep him quiet. You know what I mean? And you've got Bruno Fernandes, you've got Rashford there. There's so many good players there. I worried when they brought Cavani on because you just know the guy's class, you know. So they've got some great players, you know.
Yeah. He was the one for me that really made a big difference for them. Cavani, when he came on, he was he's undoubtedly got the ability, but he's just got his temperament so much better. He's got that class kind of in him, which we didn't see. We saw the opposite from Ronaldo and Fernandes, like just being, like you're saying, being petulant. But I think the crowd played a massive part in that as well, because we were jeering everything that they were doing. We were on the backs every time.
Ronaldo was back a lot when he was doing mistakes or something. It was great. It was great.
Yeah, it was all night though. It was mistakes all night.
Yeah,
and that's it. We're putting them off his game, putting them both off the game, putting the team off the game, and that, you know, stems from what's happening in the stands, us backing that up versus what's happening on the pitch, and putting them under pressure, not allowing them to play their game, and then we're able to capitalise them and put more pressure on them audibly from the stands and highlight the fact that it's not going well for them.
There was one where Ronaldo tried like a left-footed volley next to where you sit, and obviously it bounced off his ass, his back, and everything when I was playing.
Volleys it off himself. Honestly,
the outpour of "way" was unbelievable. It was absolutely amazing. Like,
it was.
You knew it was getting to him as well, because he cupped his ears a couple of times when he was getting jeered and stuff like that. So like, it almost to say like, I'm hearing what you're doing, because he expected to then pick up the ball and bend one in the top corner, which, as Chris, like you've just said, he's more than capable of doing.
Yeah, it's a worry. It's a worry doing that, because you think he's have the last laugh here. I often think that, but yeah, fair enough.
We definitely had him rattled.
It happened with Ivan Toney, didn't it? When he was getting booed, then just a couple of minutes later, he goes and puts in the back of the net. And I thought that the more the fans were whining Ronaldo, I thought, this is going to come and bite us on the arse in a minute. Like, I really did think it was. But
that's where your character comes into it, though. You either handle it two ways. You either don't show that it's affecting you, but you remember it then when you do something and you do get a goal or something like that. That's when you then point it out. But he was the opposite. He was like saying, like, I know what you're doing. I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to push. A bit like Pickford. Every time Pickford comes to here, he reacts in the same way. He's recognised that that's an issue for him, and he went and got counselling and all of that kind of thing. But he
got dropped for one game.
Yeah, but you just expect from Ronaldo and Fernandes to know better, to behave better, and like you said at the start of this bit, Chris, like the fact that Neville came out and was kind of criticising them, saying, you know, you're letting not just letting yourself down, you're letting the fans down, you're letting your teammates down, because if you're in a team with them, and you know you're probably, if not the best, the second best player in the world, in you know everything that's gone between you, you're held in high regard by the players that are on the team, and that expect you to drag in and show by example. And the only example he's setting is a pretty poor one for me.
Yeah, well, Neville also said, and maybe obviously Neville's probably looking at other things rather than what we watched. He was saying they were whinging amongst each other as well, and he said that's what he was annoyed with, you know. And I know Ronaldo a few times was throwing his arms in the air, complaining he didn't get the ball early enough or whatever. He's always been like that. I also seen that he was apparently the only player that stormed off down the tunnel at the end of the game, and he's been getting shit. He's been getting shit for that as well. So, but anyway, that's their problem. But I agree in terms of us getting on the back helps. It helps make them do fucking.
Just because on the topic right now, there's been a few clips once again the last 24 hours since the game is finished, that the kick at Ryan Fraser. What were your thoughts on that one, Decker? Because in the ground it just looks like Ronaldo just wipes him out. In the ground, it doesn't look like it's intent. There's intent there. The 100% is. Is that a red card for you, or if your answer is going to be no, if it's the other way around and somebody like Shelvey does that Ronaldo, can you see him getting a red card?
Yeah, you've basically said everything I was going to say. If I'm honest, mate, I think in real time when it happened and I seen Fraser go, you know, I thought, bloody hell, that was horrendous. You know what I mean? And then I watched the replay and I was like, it was bad, but in terms of hitting him in the head and that, he didn't mean that, like, do you know what I mean? It just so happened the way that they came together. But then I thought on the flip side of that, if Jonjo Shelvey goes in like that, say on Ronaldo or someone, I think he's walking like. And I believe that VAR 100% don't overturn that. So if the referee had have sent them off, I feel as if it would have stood.
It's strange, like, because like you said, Chris, at the game, I cannot really remember like when it happened, or what kind of led up to it, other than like seeing it back on the replays and stuff
Fraser
like that?
forgot to take the ball. With
Yeah,
them.
they forgot to take the ball, didn't they? Yeah.
They forget to take the ball, and Fraser runs back to collect it, and he just gets his foot on it. And as he gets his foot on it, Ronaldo out of nowhere just comes and tries to hit that ball as hard as he can. But obviously, because Fraser's so small and Ronaldo's so big, Ronaldo takes a jump as he's doing it, and he nearly takes Fraser's head off and volleys him into the Milburn stand.
Yeah, it was a bad challenge. And do you know what annoyed us the most was, obviously you wouldn't have seen that, of course, where you were, but Ronaldo was shaking his head and complaining honestly for ages, even after the decision got given, moaning on, shaking his head, saying it wasn't a booking. And I was thinking, come on, mate, like if that had happened to you, you would have been rolling around for hours. Like I think that's when it annoys us when players. Listen, I'm not saying he meant to hurt him or anything, right? But just take your medicine and go, all right, fair enough. Listen, it was a bad one, right, to get a card. But he was physically shaking his head for ages and arguing and complaining way after the decision had been given about being booked. And I'm like, for fuck's sake, man. Like, if it was a booking, it could have been a sending off, if anything, but like, how? It's so annoying, man.
The thing is as well,
and it comes back to things not going his way, doesn't it? That's why he's acting and reacting that way.
Mark, early on in the game, we were giving the referee some credit because we're saying, Jesus, like he's letting a lot of challengers go here, and he's not giving bookings when you could probably give them later on in the game. But then I think as the game went a bit further on, he started giving away daft little free kicks for nothing challenges, especially the ones which we had seen in the first half, and he was just letting them go. And I thought, if you had to control that game the way you have in the first 15, 20 minutes, then that's an almost a perfect refereeing display, letting the game just continue.
I was going to ask you what your thoughts was of the ref, because again, watching from home, I think sometimes you definitely get a different vibe. And I said to my dad a few times, I was like, he's been class today. So far, he's been class. He was letting loads go. I actually felt we were getting a lot of free kicks, actually, to be quite honest with you, early doors. But then, as always, what you find with refs is the cards start to come a little bit later on, and the fouls that he was most definitely giving away before. And in fairness, maybe it's because that's the person's third one or the fourth one. You know, maybe in the first half he's done exactly the same quality of foul, but this is his third time, so I'm sorry, mate, you're in the book or whatever. But no, I thought he was okay. If I'm being really honest, I thought he was all right.
I think he actually gives, and you don't see it very often anymore, I think he gave both Bruno and Joelinton yellow cards for dissent as well, when they started kicking off at decisions and not letting play go forward. I'm sure they both got bookings for that reason.
Joe was kicking right off, like Joe was going mental.
He was. But that's what you want to see, mate. You want to see that attitude. And if he's putting that sort of anger in his displays, which he clearly has been doing, then he can do that all he likes for me. Of course he can. Just to touch on their goal, if you're saying, and we'll go right back, Mark, if you're saying Saints is a fluke shot, is Cavani's the same then?
Oh, aye, yeah. I mean, he gets to. Well, to be fair, even before he scores, we got a warning like just before, because we had practically identical move where it gets pulled back to him, like, and it's clever from him. He just hangs back that little bit further, because again, how many times have we spoken about our defenders just getting drawn to that goal like it's a magnet, pulling them towards that goal line, and their strikers, if they've got a bit of an intelligence, they just drop back, hang around the edge of the 6-yard box, the penalty spot, and it's a simple little tap in for him. So we had that warning before we actually scored, but he then, on the goal that he did score, he got 2 bites of the cherry, didn't he? But it comes off his shin, doesn't it? And it goes between Lascelles' legs and then goes into the only space where it can go in it against Dubravka. But he's put himself in that position, which is what a top striker does.
I was just because I mentioned Dubravka, Dick, I'll come to you. Dubravka's distribution is getting worse each game. It's getting worse.
It's just awful. Now, he was limping a little bit towards the end of the game, a little bit again. Now, I'm trying to be nice here. Maybe it is injury, but Jesus Christ, like, it's horrific. And I'm telling you, I used to be really, really calm, and I used to think, I was quite confident when he had the ball at his feet that he would play it out quite nicely and stuff. It's been atrocious, his distribution. Worse than what, like cruel-esque, if I'm honest with you. a couple of to go to their goal very quickly. Again, I don't know what your thoughts were in the ground. They were getting far too much space on the right-hand side of the field, time and time again. Manquillo was just so far inside. They were having that Dallo on the right-hand side constantly. And I kept saying to my dad, God, we're getting away with it again. We've got to sort it out. And sure enough, the goal comes from that side. But to just quickly touch on the goal, Lascelles is just shocking. Like, I've sent a few pictures in the group there. I'm telling you, he is running alongside Cavani. He is physically staring at Cavani in the face. And he's running alongside with him. And as Mark says, he gets sucked in towards his own goal, and Cavani just puts the brakes on, and the gap gets wider and wider. Lascelles is running into a position where Shea's already there. Shea is already at the front post. Any ball that comes across Shea can just clear. It's fine. But Lascelles, for whatever reason, gets dragged in, and Cavani just stands there. And then he's free as a bird. He finds him very well. Don't get us wrong, the winger finds him well. But that's schoolboy defending. And having said all of that, we are incredibly unlucky on the rebound, though. We've got three players standing in front of the bloke. 3 players, and it gone through his legs. I mean, for fuck's sake.
But what I want to say is we're 1-1, and previously that would silence the crowd in St. James's Park. It would go pretty flat, but it didn't. And I honestly think that the way the fans reacted, that's what pushed the team on to have those chances towards the end of the game, because we didn't stop. We still kept on going for that winner goal.
Yeah.
And we're seeing.
And the players deserved that as well. Eh? The players deserved that support. They deserved. I know they've conceded, but they deserved that spirit shown from the fans, which was great to hear.
I think, in fairness, we've done that for the last, probably since House came in. In all fairness, there's been rather than a negative reaction to going behind, there's been the opposite. People have wanted us to get back in the game, and again it's coming from having a bit of hope now. If that, it's like, oh, it's not here we go again, and like being down about the fact it's like, right, come on, here we go again. So you're actually trying to then get on the aggressive side of it and get back into the game, rather than just sitting back and accepting defeat, accepting that we're going to go behind. And let's face it, even at 1-1, that felt very, very harsh. If we'd have kind of gone on and lost that game, then
if we just touch on very quickly, the chance, obviously. Sorry, let's just touch on a few things. I apologise here. So the Wilson injury obviously happens in the first half. Obviously, again, you lads probably wouldn't have seen that. Nothing had happened. No one touched him. Obviously, there was.
He went down a couple of times, didn't he?
Yeah. He did a pirouettic Maradona Turner thing, and his calf just seemed to snap, basically. And he tried to carry on, obviously, but clearly couldn't. And obviously, when the second half started, and this is why I've mentioned this, Saint-Maximin went up front. Obviously, he basically just fill a void, right? Yeah. And we get an unbelievable chance to go 2 up, And this is when I talked about the lineup at the start, and I mentioned Kraft. Defensively, Kraft was absolutely spot on last night. And he did one thing going forward, which was absolutely brilliant, which was that chance. He did amazing Kraft on that far side. He puts over a great ball. Saint-Maximin should score. There's absolutely no question about that at all. Yeah. He should score. On reflection, after seeing the replay a few times, it went live, I thought, God almighty, how's he missed? Maybe I'm defending because of who he is, but Varane's blocked that ball all the way. And he literally sees it last second and just hangs a foot out. But he should still score. There's absolutely no question of that. But Varane, what I'm trying to say, Varane wasn't there, and he can see the ball come, and he scores every time for me. But it's because Varane is there, he just can't see the ball until it's literally on him. But if you go 2-0 up there, that was a minute after half time. Hell,
you're laughing.
You're laughing like
absolutely.
So that was a shame. That was a real shame at that moment not to score there.
Yeah, just before we touch on that couple of chances, which we got towards the end of the game there, Josh Stockton has donated £20. Thank you, Josh. He says, "Hey lads, hope you all had a good Christmas. I'll get the word again. Hope you all had a great Christmas. Became a member of the channel last night. Our best performance of the season last night. Joelinton ran our midfield. He's heard a rumour that Cristiano Ronaldo wears Joelinton on pajamas.
I'll wear them now as well. They're brilliant.
I think we'll all wear them. I think we might start selling J7 stuff because we invented J7.
I had to get a new pair because I've worn mine out.
I bet they're worn out in the crotch area, are they, Mark?
Especially the last few weeks.
So let's touch on the obviously the end of the game, and it's Murphy gets a couple of decent chances. Murphy, to be fair, then he gets that one where he takes it well, Murphy, and I honestly think that's in the back of the net because De Gea's just watching that go by him. He looks, drops his shoulder and looks, and then it clatters off the post, comes back to Almiron. And Almiron, once again, he does fantastic to open his body up, shift it onto his left-hand foot. And once again, I'm in the crowd thinking, this is in the back of the net again. And what a save.
I was over the barrier.
Absolutely. Oh, that is what you get from somebody like De Gea, and I know he's came under some criticism, just like Dubravka has at times with us. But he's got that in him. He's got that match-saving display in him, and that honestly, that save, I couldn't believe it. Me and Mark were just hands in heads thinking it's not going to happen. This is how I look now. That was with chances.
He pulled off a good few saves as well. Let's be fair. Yeah, I think we had 7 or 8 shots on target, and I know Saint had a few. He saved well, and obviously, I just want to comment on Murphy for a second. My voice is going to go here. I was really, really impressed with his pressing in certain areas of the field, where he was picking these moments, which you've got to do. You can't just press for the press sake because you thought you get done. But he was sensing the danger of, if I press now, they're in trouble. And his pace, he's fast, isn't he? Right? He's quick. And obviously, I'm not saying he's the ancestor to a praise by any stretch. I'm really not. But his press was very, very good. And he was putting them under pressure. The one thing he always does, when he hit the post, he tries that 3, 4, 5 times a game if he can. And he did it twice before that. One just went whistle past the post earlier on in the game. And he did it there where it hits the post. He does that quite a lot. Now, in fairness, before he hits the post, my God almighty, it was horrific how he lost the ball. We're through. We're almost through. And he does a piss-poor attempt at a cross, which hits the first man, but then it comes back to him. And he recycles the ball really, really well. And I agree, I thought that was in. I really did. And Almiron, if anyone could have scored, I would have picked him. I would have loved to have seen him score the winner against Man United. Like, I honestly would have. And it's just a shame, isn't it, De Gea was on form and saved it, obviously.
I thought Murphy was excellent. When he came on, he was. I think when I seen a stat that he was him and Joe were the two most progressive players on the pitch. Carried the ball the furthest and stuff like that. And I just thought he put a hell of a shift. Like you said, he was pressing the ball. That was one hell of a performance from him. And look, you can look around the entire team and pick out performances like that. Like you've just said, their Kraft was brilliant. Never seen a performance like him in the entire time that he's been here. But God, I don't know how we didn't score with that chance. I don't know whether De Gea just gets an ever so tiny fingernail on the bender from Murphy, but like you say, it hits the post and it comes back to Miggy. He cannot hit that any better than he does. It's flying in the top corner. No keeper in the world is getting anywhere near that, and then somehow De Gea just reaches from the depths of hell to just get his hand to it and tip it around. But I like you say, I was in the air up over the barrier because I thought it was in the back of the net. Couldn't believe it didn't go in. Unbelievable. But
it's just
what
one of those
games.
It is. It's something which we lacked under previous management, getting those sort of chances and creating our own luck and creating our own chances throughout a game. Something where we've had to rely on teams messing up and hitting them on the counter attack. And for these pundits, the likes of Danny Murphy, that sat there and saying, "Oh, there's been no change under Eddie Howe for Newcastle. This look exactly the same under Steve Bruce." We look completely different.
Couldn't
of course,
be further from the truth.
Results aren't going our way, but that's categorically down to some absolutely horrific decisions at times in the last X amount of games. But if we can perform like that, and I know it's a hard ask, but if we can perform like how we did last night against Manchester United, then I'm not worried that we'll get enough points out of the remaining fixtures to get out of the relegation fight, because we do look decent at times. And I think, once again, that unity that you can clearly see in the playing squad, I think that'll be our attribute come the end of the season. It has to be. It's that and the fans that are going to have to get well with this really now. And January transfer window.
Yeah, well, we're halfway through the season now. We've played 19 games, but the biggest thing that now concerns me is the fact that they're talking about Wilson being out for months, and that scares the living daylights out of me.
We knew it was coming, though, Mark. We knew it was coming.
I agree with Chris totally there. He was never. I never had any feelings he was going to see the end of the season. He just can't. I mean, no offense to the guy, but he's riddled with injury problems, right? He just is. And I'll say the same thing I've said many times, is that a club that are second bottom or whatever, we ain't going to have a replacement like Wilson on the bench. We just aren't. You know what I mean? Like the big clubs struggle when them get an injury up top, because strikers are the hardest thing to come by. I think losing both of them is a problem. You know, not just Wilson. Obviously, Saint could be 4 or 5 weeks. Fraser's got a hamstring problem. You know,
Shea was feeling his hamstring as well for a lot of the.
Shea's always feeling his hamstring, man.
Well, it was funny because it came after the worst attempt at a pass I've ever witnessed.
It's always the same.
And I thought, no, you're just holding your leg because, you know.
It's that pride injury, isn't it?
But I think why it hurts, it's typical us though, isn't it? You know, we have a really good game and we're so buoyed by that performance, but then it's tarnished by that injury, or those injuries, sorry. It's just so typical us, isn't it? And we've got a few games to come here which we believe are winnable games, and then all of a sudden, no offence to these people I'm going to mention, but as much as we've commented on Murphy replacing Saint-Maximin, Gale coming in for Wilson, it ain't the same quality, is it? Let's be fair, lads. You know.
So just answer that question, which Freddie sent in there, has said how far up the priority list is a new striker in January now. It kind of goes top of the list now for me. It was high up anyway, but we need a goal scorer. You're not getting out a relegation fight unless you've got a goal scorer in your team. And if our one is injured for a couple of months, they reckon, what was it, 6 weeks they said? Which will be a minimum.
6 to 8 weeks, yeah.
So it's you need a striker in there, and
well, in fairness, because I don't even if he comes back, honestly, you know, after 6 to 8 weeks, what's to say he doesn't get hurt again? So I agree. You know, there has to be somebody that comes in. And in fairness here, I do honestly think that they would be getting a striker anyway. Even if Wilson scored 10 last night, I still think a striker was on the list. But they are difficult to come by. They are difficult.
I think rather than us going looking for a backup striker, no, we now have to go and find a striker, somebody that's going to have to play, you know, week in, week out. Whereas it was looking as a bit of a reinforcement for Wilson, and you know, if worst case happens, he does pick up an injury where it's now flipped on its head. He is going to be out, so we need somebody that's going to come in there and be our number 9, lead the line, because you know, when he went off, that was something that we missed, because you know, we put Saint up front, which again was maybe a bit of a strange decision, not bringing Gale on. Because one thing that he will give you is he'll chase balls down, he'll run the lines, and he'll press. We didn't see that for a lot of the second half from Saint, because that's not his game. So it's a one where look, we had this conversation I think 2 weeks ago when obviously we lost Lewis, and we suddenly needed a left back. You know, that went straight to the top of the list. So it's now shown, because we've got gaps in the squad. We don't have that quality in depth to be able to just to lose a player and have somebody there to come in and replace it. He obviously doesn't rate Gale the fact that he doesn't give him games. He only brought him on because he had to, like towards the end, and give him a bit of a run out. And then the only other striker that we had was Elliot Anderson, wasn't it, on the bench? So we really are, you know, looking to be scraping the barrel now. And you would have thought Gale would have been, you know, somebody that was out in the window. So, you know, if he goes, does that mean we'll have to bring in a couple of strikers, or does it mean he now has to stay? But it's definitely now where you're looking at those positions where we know we need 2 full backs. Even though Kraft had a good game, defence, we know we're weak in there, despite them playing pretty well. But we know Shea picks up injuries, Lascelles prone to mistakes, but we've now got no recognised striker. And that is a massive, massive worry, because that's what keeps you up. It's goals, and we haven't got that recognised goal scorer.
I'll ask you a question here. Okay, as a 27-year-old striker in the Championship, once wore black and white stripes.
The answer's no.
Once wore black and white stripes. Could he be tempted to come back, Alexander Mitrovic?
Absolutely not. It doesn't. He's not the striker that we need. It didn't work for him the first time round that he was here. As much as I loved him for, you know, he's batshit crazy ways, but he doesn't give you that work rate. He doesn't give you, you know, what we need.
It's a funny one.
He's brilliant at that level.
If he hadn't have played for, in hindsight, I'm just talking, and you look at his record, he scored the most ever apparently down there. There's something he's done for Fulham is 50 and 50 or something daft like that. Would be like, fucking hell, we're getting a player here who loves the club already. We already know and all this bullshit, and would be loving it, right? But I understand the point you're making completely. The thing is, I'll say is, of course, financially we're going to be better off and obviously hopefully more productive. The issues I've got is clubs holding one to ransom. One fact is, of course, of who we are in the situation, right? But the second of all is now they know we need it. They know that we need, they're not blind. Them know that they'll need a striker. They know they'll be coming knocking or whatever. I think the option that personally you've got is a loan to buy, where I think you'll loan a good name or a good pedigree type of player. Because I don't think you can necessarily sign somebody that I truly would say, wow, he'll replace Wilson, no bother. So it's a tough one. And again, it's just shit. It's just shit that it's came at this time because we've got games coming up we think we can win. And it's on the back of what was a great performance. And it's just typical us, isn't it? It's just typical. It's just shit.
It is. But what were you going to say, Mark? Sorry.
I was saying, if you're looking at the Championship, for me, you've got to be probably looking at Brereton, at Blackburn, or we sat and watched the Bournemouth game last night, and I thought Solanke played very, very well as well. But it's, I don't know, is it a one where you've maybe got to look at the
I wish we had Ivan Toney
that have got.
I wish we still had
him. But again, it's
the Toney that I know now. Sorry, the Toney that I know now.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Yeah.
We let him go at the right time because he wouldn't have developed into the player that he is now.
Totally.
It's always that what if will a player be able to step up from the Championship to come into the Premier League and score goals? We've seen it with a few, but we've seen the opposite where people take the gamble on it in the field
chances.
So I don't know. For me, it's probably looking at somebody that is at a Premier League team. Comes in and scores goals when they play, whether they come off the bench or something like that. Origi for me would be brilliant from Liverpool if they would let him go, but I don't know whether that'll be the case. Again, it might be something where we've got to look at somebody from abroad that'll come in and do something for us. But it's definitely a conundrum that we need to solve in a very short space of time. The window opens in 3-4 days time, so we need to kind of be acting really, really quickly to strengthen.
I think what we'll do, because obviously that game against Everton's been called off now. Probably we know now that we won't have a game to look back on. So the next podcast, probably the first podcast of the new year, which you'll probably see from ourselves, is something in relation to the likes of transfers and where Newcastle need to look at strengthening now. And the probably obvious answer right now is everywhere on the field. And like Decker said, I think it's damaging just how close that injuries came to the January transfer window, because yes, we've got deep pockets, but are other Premier League clubs going to want to sell to Newcastle United right now with everything which has happened over the last X amount of months? Probably not, unless it's a ridiculous bid which is going in for the players.
And that's where I know there's a lot of fans, maybe tongue-in-cheek here, but a lot of fans seem to suggest that, well, we'll just pay over the odds. That's what we have to do, and that's what we'll do. I don't see these guys, this group of people doing that. I really don't. That these guys aren't just going to throw money away. It'll be strategic. It'll be well thought out. And if someone goes for more than what they want, well, they'll let them go. And it's something we're going to have to be prepared for. But it's just.
The thing is, there's a great comment there. Sorry to interrupt, but there's a great comment because apparently the African Cup of Nations is still going ahead this time. So Liverpool are going to be losing Mane and Salah as well. Are they going to let Origi go? Probably not.
You would have to say no. You'd have to say no. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Surprising that's still going ahead considering everything that's going on, but it is what it is.
Yeah. They're not going to cancel any sort of tournament football now, because that's the moneymaker for a lot of these organisations.
I still honestly think, Eddie Howe will have a few names he suggested to them that we're well not thought of. That we're not even. It's not even on our list, not even on our minds. And I think Eddie Howe will have a few players that he suggested that he could work with, that suit his style and stuff like that. So we could be in for a few shocks, I think, name-wise. But listen, all you can do is, of course, I feel horrific, to be honest with you, the two players that we've lost. But all we can try and do is have faith in Eddie Howe and Amanda and the rest of them to get the right players in and hopefully get them in early. The problem we've had in a lot of windows in the past is we're waiting until the last bloody day to get active. You know what I mean? And we're scraping around. Yeah. Let's try and be proactive here and get our business done early. But we'll have to
just look at the Almiron transfer saga. That was lined up weeks and weeks before the transfer window even opened, and we didn't sign him till the last couple of days in the January transfer window because we're still trying to scrape on a couple of quid.
Well, they always say that it's a hard window and it's hard to do deals and stuff, but we've sat here and discussed players, are they coming or they're not. And there's other clubs that are doing 2 and 3 signings in a day. You know what I mean? So it can't be that fucking difficult. Do you know what I mean?
It looks, obviously, if you're going off the rumours on social media as well, Scott puts it in on the chat there as well. Trippier has been liking posts regarding Newcastle United over the last 24 hours. One of them with the Sean Longstaff interview. With Joelinton on. It looks nailed on that. I think there's too many rumours about that for it not to happen.
I'm not getting carried away with that one though, because if you just look at the amount of stories that were in the press, like with the managers, like he was, we had 3 managers that will come in the following day. How many directors of football have we had? So it does seem very, very strong, and everybody's pointing that way. But
would you be happy with him?
100%. He's a cut a mile above anything else that we've got at the club. I don't mind Manquillo. I think he does a job, but hey, he's no Kieran Trippier, is he? And I know he's at the wrong end of his career. I know he'll command a lot of money, and the fees that are being talked about do seem excessive for the situation that he's in, but he's quality, isn't he? He's a proven international footballer. He knows the league inside out. He's gone abroad and done it over there after falling out of favour here. So he walks into our team, and he walks into the majority of the Premier League teams that are here. So I think the point you make on the money, if we can get it done.
The point you make on the money is a good point, because I think a lot of people are going to have to quickly get on board with this as well. By the way, that Shelvey being our top guy on 70 grand or whatever, in order to progress, in order to be what we want to be, these days have to go. So there is going to be times where people are going to be on money that to our ears are like, what the hell? We're giving him this amount of money. This is just the way football is. And if you want to get a proven international player here, you know what I mean? Who I agree with Mark, could probably go in a lot of Premier League sides, a lot of them. You're going to have to pay the top dollar to get these guys. And I think it'll be an amazing signing. I wish he was a left back, but you take him, and you'd be absolutely amazing signing for him. Unbelievable signing.
Well, that's the thing you're saying there. You wish he was a left back. 3-4 weeks ago, we weren't having that conversation because we weren't in the position where we are now. We were making do because Lewis was fit and he was, he'd improved and he was playing well. Hey, football's a fickle game, isn't it? And things change very, very quickly. But it's a no-brainer. If we can do a deal and it works for both parties, then get him in. I'd love to see it.
Which people I don't think look at whatsoever here, by the way. If you sign a player like Kieran Trippier, what message does that send to other players that are maybe thinking about moving? They think, bloody hell, they are actually trying to become something. And Trippier's gone there, and et cetera, et cetera. I just think that sends a really big statement. So, and he did actually, to be fair to Keegan, yes.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, Keegan.
He has played left back as well, hasn't he? So again, that's I know Eddie Howe had him at Burnley, didn't he? When Howe was there, so he's probably fully aware that he can play either fullback. But he may not come, but it's amazing to be linked with him, and it seems odds on to me. So
he's that statement signing. It's a signing that it really cements the ambitions of the new owners. If you do bring a player like Kieran Trippier in, boys, I think that's us done for this evening. The last podcast of 2021.
Bloody hell. I can't believe we're still in this
game's off on Thursday, so nothing to talk about there now, is there?
Yeah, nothing. So
looking forward to it as well.
We're going to have to get with thinking caps on and figure out what we're going to do over the next week when it comes to Newcastle United. But I'm sure we'll think.
I think we need to do like a greatest hits of the year or something, or I don't know, bad moments. There'll be a hell of a lot of them. Like the funniest moment, the shittest moment, the best moment. I don't know, for the year.
Like the award ceremony again.
I kind of like that. Yeah. I was too pissed to remember that one, but yeah.
Well, I think we're all pissed, mate. We're all absolutely smashed. But yeah, thanks everybody who has tuned in tonight. Thanks everybody who's tuned in throughout the last year. I know it's been a difficult one for everyone, and the comments which you've sent our way, especially during lockdown, it meant a hell of a lot to us that we were helping a lot of you get by in your normal day existence when everybody was locked up. So it means a lot to us as always. And enjoy the new year. We'll be back very soon along with everybody else. We'll catch up with you all then.
Stay safe, everyone.
Cheers, everyone.
See you later.